All right, guys, are you ready for the battle of the button locks? The fight for the most fidget-friendly folder that there is? Well, I think it comes down to these two, both popular knives. But I think that I really think that these are divided into two camps. I think that there's people that already discovered the Smock and love the Smock, and because of that, they love the Malibu. And then I think there's people that over the past year just discovered the Malibu and love it, but don't know about the Smock. So I feel these knives aren't getting compared enough, maybe, because of that. But I first picked up the Smock when it dropped initially in, I want to say it was 2019. I missed the first run, and then about 3-4 weeks later, I got the second run. This is not what a normal Smock looks like. These are aftermarket titanium scales that were made by Kevin Smock himself. It's got a Lynch Northwest clip on it, and it's got blue hardware. I also acid etched and stonewashed the blade. So aesthetically, this is not a fair comparison because this Malibu is pretty much stock. It was a Blade Show 2021 exclusive, but it's got the stonewashed blade, the black scales, mother of pearl button, which is not picking up the light very well. Looks yellow right now, but it's not, I promise. So aesthetics aside, don't pay attention to aesthetics in this video. It's going to be more of a comparison between the two. Which one do I personally like better? Which one do I think is better executed? Which one do I think offers more? As most of my videos, unfortunately, both of these knives are very limited, and they're both hard to get. Spyderco seems to have halted production on the Smock for whatever reason. They do stuff like that. I don't know. The Malibu is still in production. It's got a bunch of different variants, and they're coming out with a new one in February as well. So, but it's still hard to get. I don't think it's in stock anywhere. But yeah, they share those things in common for sure. But I guess what I want to go over is, you know, what is similar about these two and what's different, because they're both button locks, they're both flippers. Which one is better? Which one is more your speed? Hopefully we can find that out today. Now, the Smock being the first kind of mainstream button lock of the two, and don't get me wrong, ProTech had two other button locks before this. They had the Mordax and another one, but they didn't really pick up that much momentum. But when the Smock came out, it was a polarizing design by Spyderco in conjunction with Kevin Smock, a custom maker, based on his SK23 custom. And I actually have a initial YouTube impressions video of this from back in, I want to say, 2019, 2020. So you can go check that out in my videos if you want to see it. And that goes over a full overview of the stock knife from Spyderco. But anyway, this came out and it was polarizing. A lot of people didn't like the looks. A lot of, I guess you can call them Spyderco purists, didn't like the look. And it also took a really long time to drop after Spyderco announced that it was coming that year. Some people got salty about that, and you know, whatever. But when it came out and it started to get into people's hands, I think a lot of people really fell in love with this design and this knife. And a big part of that is its fidget factor. Now, because I'm filming this on a tabletop, it's hard to show you. Gravity's not on my side when I hold the knife flat like this, but it does have a flipper, but it also has the thumb holes. So you can Spidey flick this, you can thumb flick it, you can slow roll it. So it's got multiple deployment options, which is an advantage over the ProTech. It is technically a compression button lock, so it has, imagine if you took a right-handed Spyderco Para 3 or PM2 with a compression lock, and you reversed the lock, so essentially making it a lefty, and then you riveted a button to that lock. That's basically what this is, but it's still a button lock, I would say, nonetheless. So shit. Whereas the Malibu uses, I believe it's called a barrel lock system. So it's got this button that goes straight through. Behind this button is a spring, and basically that provides the tension to depress the button itself, and then it kind of locks in the blade there between the button, which is also there's a stop pin in there as well, if you can see. So the stop pin stops it, and the button locks it in. And it's really weird, but that's how it works. There's no other lock bar or anything like that. The only lock on this knife is the button. I can't speak to the reliability of that, but you know, I haven't heard any catastrophic failures, so I think it works out pretty well. You know, as far as fidget factor goes, they both drop completely free. Oh, why is that tight? Okay, they both drop completely free. You can sit there for hours doing this with both. And I think really the main advantage of the Smock is the fact that it has an opening hole, so you can deploy how you see fit. Spidey flick, thumb flick, flipper. As far as action goes on the two, it's a little different. So if you discovered the Malibu this year and you love it and you love the action, the Smock does feel a little bit different. I'm trying to figure out how I would describe it. So the Malibu, it definitely has, it's all mechanical input. As soon as you break that detent, it swings open. But the speed at which it swings open is really dependent on how hard you really engage that flipper tab. The Smock, because the flipper tab is not on the back like your typical flipper, it's at the top, really. You have a different type of leverage when you push this flipper tab down and the blade swings out. It's also dependent on how hard you give your input, but it's a different feel. So that's something to take into account. So they do both feel a little bit different. They do both feel a little bit the same. The Malibu comes in two different blade styles, whereas the Smock is just this kind of modified sheep's foot / reverse tanto, whatever you want to call it. That's it for the Smock. That's all that's available. With the Malibu, though, you have a Wharncliffe that you see here, and then you have a modified sheep's foot / reverse tanto. So that advantage definitely goes to the Malibu, just having the options. Although I'm not sure if they're bringing this back, this Wharncliffe, but the verdict's still out on that. I don't know. So yeah, blade shape options go to the Malibu. As far as grind goes, though, that's another story. The Malibu has a high flat grind, and it is flat, and it's pretty thick behind the edge. The Smock has a hollow grind. I don't know if you can see that, but it's a pretty decent hollow grind. It gets significantly thinner in stock from up here to down here. So in terms of blade profile and geometry, I mean, I gotta give that to the Smock. It is slicier. The big controversy when it came to the Smock was this friggin' thing right here. It's kind of part sharpening choil, part finger choil, but it's not really a finger choil because it is sharp. And I guess if you're doing really light detailed cutting, you can hold it there, but be warned, that is a snag waiting to happen. If this had a full choil, I would give it points, but I can't confidently say that's a choil. So that is out of the competition. But in terms of blade shapes, yeah, the Malibu has two, the Smock has one, so point to the Malibu. Let's talk about blade steels. What's offered in blade steels? Well, if you want a production Malibu and not a custom, You're only going to get 20 CV. CPM, 20 CV. All right, fantastic steel for everyday carry. No complaints there. The Smock is available in the base S30V. Let's see if we can find that. Is it still visible? Yes, it's right there. S30V is the base steel for the Smock. Then you have sprint runs from Blade HQ, Knife Joy, and DLT. So DLT, red scales, M390, Knife Joy, black scales, 20 CV, and then Blade HQ released 2 in M4, one with a satin blade, one with a black coated blade. So steel choices, point goes to the Smock. No question. I mean, even though those were exclusives, they're still out there, they're still easy to get, and they're still relatively inexpensive, although the prices on these are definitely on the rise. I believe prices on the base Smock were around $189 or so, $160, between 160 and 180. And then the sprints were a little bit more, but the value on the sprints skyrocketed because obviously that's the Spyderco game that you collectors play with your sprints. Overall length, you can see these knives are almost the same size, but the Smock just inches out the Malibu by about 1/4 inch. In terms of thickness, again, we can't really compare because these aren't the stock scales, but they are pretty close. Both of these pocket pretty well. I will say one thing. The Malibu gets a major point here, and that's when it comes to pocket clip. Because the Malibu, straight from ProTech, comes with a super deep carry clip with fantastic spring tension, easy ramp to get in and out of the pocket. This is probably one of the best factory clips out there in terms of functionality. Screws are easy to access through this window. I mean, this is the best you could hope for an everyday carry clip. The Spyderco, on the other hand, uses the traditional Spyderco spoon-style clip, and you can see I replaced it with a Lynch Northwest, but the spoon-style clip puts about that much of the knife out of your pocket. And again, you can go back to my original video from a year or two ago on the Smock, and you'll see, or did I have this clip on already? I think I might have had this, I might have put this clip on as soon as I got the knife in, but yeah, it sits more than proud, like that high out of the pocket. So point goes to the ProTech for sure when it comes to pocket clip. So where do I stand? I mean, the ProTech's got advantages in multiple blade styles. The pocket clip, it's, I would say, certainly more available at this time, even though you got to wait for the drops. Spyderco's kind of in the dark with the Smock. But the Smock takes home the sliciness of the blade, the multiple deployment options. If you want to argue that the compression button lock is a better locking system than the barrel of the traditional button lock, I don't know. The debate's still out on that. In terms of action, they're both really, really good and a little bit different. They're both on bearings. And I would say that in terms of action on a scale of 1 to 10, in terms of this style knife and a button lock knife, I mean, I'd say they're both equal. You know, 8.5 to both, let's say. I mean, I wouldn't say there's a clear winner, but I would say, in my opinion, I would have to say that the Smock slightly outshines the Malibu overall. And again, that's based on the fact that it has a much better blade geometry, the opening hole for extra fidgetability. I mean, if fidgetability is one of those things that we're really, really gauging this video on and this comparison on, then the Smock just edges out the Malibu, in my opinion. And the only reason for that is that this is the only way you can open the Malibu. And the Smock can do, I suck at thumb flicking, by the way, because I almost cut my thumb off years ago. Yeah, I mean, the Smock, you can do that with both, I guess, but you can index flick it. There's just more options because of this little thing right there. So if you're considering either one of these and you want a knife that's very pocketable for everyday carry, but also fun to fidget with, you can't go wrong with either. But my vote is still with the Smock by a hair, just because of that Spidey hole combined with the button lock. And that's about it, guys. If you're considering either one of these knives, again, I think you'll be happy with both. You can't go wrong. ProTech did a awesome job with designing this and the finished product. In terms of materials, though, again, this does have aftermarket titanium scales. From the factory, it was only available with either like a peel-plied carbon fiber in the base model or G10 on all the sprint runs. You had a Jade G10 from Blade HQ, red from DLT, and black from Knifejoy. So, yeah, there's research to do out there. Don't let this video be the end-all, be-all. This was just a fun comparison between these two knives that I love, and I love them both, and I'm going to keep them both. So I can't really talk smack about either. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Again, if you like the content, like the video, subscribe, follow, all that stuff. Hit the notification bell. I don't know. I'm trying to post one video per week. If I can, sometimes I do more, sometimes I do less. But if I'm going to keep this channel going, let me know if you want to keep seeing more, I guess. If the numbers go up, the videos will go up too. Thanks again, guys. Battle of the button locks. A close game, but the Smock comes out on top. Catch you on the next one.